Little Italy, Manhattan, November 1989, Thanksgiving weekend. The 5-story brick building at 247 Mulberry Street stands quiet. The Ravenite Social Club occupies the ground floor. Above it, second floor apartment 10. The apartment belongs to Nettie Cirelli, 74 years old, widow of Gambino soldier Michael Cirelli. She is in Florida. The apartment is empty. At 2:17 a.m., a black sedan parks 3 blocks away. 4 men exit. They wear dark clothing. No badges visible. They are FBI agents. Special Agent Bruce Mao leads the operation. He commands Squad C-16, the Gambino Crime Family Investigation Unit. The men carry leather cases. Inside, electronic surveillance equipment, drilling tools, audio filters, high-grade microphones. The team reaches 247 Mulberry Street at 2:34 a.m. The street is dark. 1 agent watches the corners. 3 enter through a service door at the rear. They climb the stairs, no lights. They use pencil flashlights. At the second floor, they stop at apartment 10. The lock is picked in 42 seconds. Inside, the apartment is small. 1 bedroom, a living room with faded wallpaper, a kitchen table, 2 wooden chairs. The agents work fast. They install a microphone inside the wall near the living room ceiling. They drill carefully. The hole is 3/8 of an inch wide. They run the wire through the wall cavity to the basement. In the basement, they install recording equipment. The equipment is voice-activated. When someone speaks in the apartment, it records. When the room is silent, it stops. By 4:51 a.m., the installation is complete. The agents leave. The apartment shows no signs of entry. The hole in the wall is invisible unless you know where to look. The Ravenite Social Club remains the headquarters of John Joseph Gotti, Jr., boss of the Gambino crime family. Gotti became boss on December 16, 1985, after ordering the murder of Paul Castellano outside Sparks Steakhouse. Since then, he has beaten 3 criminal trials. The press calls him the Teflon Don. Nothing sticks. Gotti knows the FBI watches him. He expects it. He never discusses business on telephones. When he meets his captains, he walks the streets. Walk and talk conversations. Hard to bug. Inside the Ravenite, the acoustics are terrible. An espresso machine hisses constantly. A soda machine rattles. Multiple conversations happen at once. The FBI has already tried to bug the club itself. The recordings were useless. Too much noise. The audio filters could not clean it up, but an FBI informant provided new intelligence in September 1989. The informant reported that Gotti sometimes leaves the Ravenite through a back door. He goes into a first-floor hallway. He speaks with captains there. Sometimes he goes upstairs, to the Cirelli apartment. The informant did not know why. Bruce Mao ordered surveillance of the building's rear exit. Between September and November, agents observed Gotti entering the back hallway 14 times. On 6 occasions, he climbed the stairs. He stayed upstairs between 35 minutes and 2 hours. Bruce Mao made his decision. The apartment was the target. Mrs. Cirelli's vacation to Florida created the opportunity. The FBI black bag team went in over Thanksgiving weekend. Federal law permits the entry. Probable cause, criminal activity expected at the location. The surveillance began. The tape started recording on November 27, 1989. The apartment had history. Before Nettie Cirelli lived there, the apartment was used by Agnello Della Croce. Della Croce was underboss of the Gambino family. He died of cancer on December 2, 1985, 14 days before Castellano's murder. Della Croce used the apartment for secret meetings, away from the club, away from the street. Gotti learned the practice from Della Croce. Now Gotti used the same apartment. The widow Cirelli allowed it, out of respect for her late husband's memory, out of fear, out of obligation to the family. November 30, 1989, 8:15 p.m. 3 men climb the stairs to apartment 10. John Gotti, Salvatore Gravano, Frank Locascio. Gravano is the underboss. Locascio is the consigliere. They enter the apartment. They sit at the kitchen table. The voice-activated recorder starts. The microphone captures everything, every word, every sound. Tap sounds on the table, coughs, the scrape of chairs. They speak about the past, about Agnello Della Croce, about Paul Castellano, about tapes. Angelo Ruggiero, a Gambino captain, had been recorded by the FBI in the early 1980s. His home was bugged. The tapes caught him discussing drug dealing. Castellano demanded to hear the tapes. Ruggiero refused. Castellano wanted to kill Ruggiero. Della Croce protected him. The conflict divided the family. Gotti sided with Della Croce. Castellano grew paranoid. He thought Gotti planned to kill him. He was right. Gotti speaks. His voice is clear on the recording. He curses Castellano. He calls him a rat motherfucker. He says Castellano divided the family. He says Castellano would not make anyone official, would not promote men, because Castellano did not trust them. Gravano agrees. He calls Castellano stark raving nuts. Locasio listens. He says Castellano was no man. The conversation continues. Gotti talks about Angelo Ruggiero's tapes. He says Ruggiero deserved to have his tongue cut out. But he does not criticize Ruggiero for the same reason he criticizes Castellano. He criticizes Ruggiero for being careless, for letting the FBI bug his house. Gotti says Castellano should have known he was hot, should have secured his house, should have kicked the FBI agents out when they came to his door. Instead, Castellano invited them in, made his wife serve them coffee. Gotti sounds disgusted. He says Castellano was a fish out of water, did not understand the life. The three men do not know they are being recorded. The microphone is invisible. The apartment feels safe. They believe they are speaking in private. They are wrong. In the basement, the tape reels turn. The FBI is listening. Every word is evidence. The recordings continue through December 1989, through January 1990, through February. The FBI monitors the apartment around the clock. When the voice-activated system detects sound, agents are alerted. They listen in real time. They also preserve the original tapes. By March 1990, the FBI has recorded approximately 600 hours of conversation. Most of it is useless. Small talk, stories about the past, complaints about the weather. But approximately 6 hours contain criminal evidence, admissions of knowledge, approvals of murder, conspiracy December 12, 1989. 9:40 p.m. Gotti and Gravano meet in the apartment. Gotti discusses Louis Di Bono. Di Bono is a Gambino captain. He controls construction companies. He has been avoiding Gotti's calls. Gotti is angry. He tells Gravano that Di Bono must be killed, not for stealing, not for betrayal, for disrespect, for refusing to come when called. Gotti's exact words are recorded. You know why he is dying? He is gonna die because he refused to come in when I called. He didn't do nothing else wrong. On October 4, 1990, Louis Di Bono is shot to death in the parking garage of the World Trade Center. 2 bullets to the back of the head. The murder happens 10 months after Gotti's statement on tape. The timing connects Gotti's words to the killing. In court, it will prove premeditation. It will prove Gotti ordered the hit. January 17, 1990. 7:55 p.m. Gotti and Locasio talk in the apartment. The subject is Louis Milito. Milito was a Gambino soldier. He disappeared on March 8, 1988. His body has not been found. Gotti and Locasio discuss his death. They do not use careful language. They do not speak in code. Gotti says Milito was killed because he insulted him, because Milito showed disrespect. Locasio agrees. The conversation makes clear that Gotti approved the murder, that he had knowledge of it, that he has no regret. The tapes capture more than murder. They capture the structure of the Gambino family. Gotti names captains. He discusses who controls which rackets. He talks about the commission, the ruling body of New York's 5 families. He mentions Carlo Gambino, the former boss, dead since 1976. He praises Agnello Della Croce. He condemns Castellano. He criticizes other members for weakness, for disloyalty, for incompetence. Gotti also makes a critical error. On multiple recordings, he complains about Gravano. He tells Locasio that Gravano is getting too powerful. Gravano controls too many construction companies. Gotti fears Gravano might challenge him. He calls Gravano ambitious. He says Gravano needs to be watched. These conversations will have consequences later. Bruce Mau and his team listen to the tapes daily. They know they have enough for an indictment. But they wait. They want more. They want to observe Gotti's movements. They want to identify his entire hierarchy. In January 1989, Gotti made a decision that helped the FBI. He ordered all Gambino members to appear at the Ravenite at least once a week. To show respect, to check in. The order violated basic Mafia protocol. A boss should remain hidden. Meeting openly attracts surveillance, attracts cameras. Bruce Moo called the decision antithetical to a secret society. But Gotti insisted. He wanted to be seen. He wanted his men to be seen. Every week, dozens of Gambino members walked into the Ravenite. The FBI photographed them, videotaped them, identified them. By November 1990, the FBI had a complete map of the Gambino family structure. 213 made members, 73 associates, 16 captains, 1 underboss, Salvatore Gravano, 1 consigliere, Frank Locascio, 1 boss, John Gotti. The FBI also had the tapes. 6 hours of incriminating conversations, discussions of murder, acknowledgements of racketeering. Confessions made in what Gotti thought was a safe space. In an apartment above a social club. In a room where bosses had spoken for decades. But the room was no longer safe. The walls had ears. November 1990. Federal prosecutors in Brooklyn review the evidence. Assistant United States attorneys prepare the indictment. They charge Gotti with racketeering, with conspiracy to commit murder, with the murders of Louis De Bono, Louis Melito, and 3 others. They charge Gravano with the same crimes. They charge Locascio with racketeering and conspiracy. They charge Thomas Gambino, a captain, with labor racketeering. The indictment is sealed. The arrest date is set to December 11, 1990. 6:30 p.m. FBI agents and NYPD detectives assemble in an apartment on Mulberry Street. The apartment has a view of the Ravenite. Bruce Moo is present. He watches through binoculars. Below on the street, Gambino members begin arriving. It is Tuesday evening, the regular check-in night. They come in pairs, in groups of 3. Some arrive in expensive cars, Mercedes-Benz sedans, Lincoln Continentals. They park illegally. They are not concerned with parking tickets. They walk into the Ravenite. Inside, they drink espresso. They play cards. They wait for Gotti. At 6:51 p.m., a black Mercedes pulls up to the front of the Ravenite. The driver is Jackie D'Amico, a Gambino captain. The passenger is John Gotti. He steps out of the car. He wears a dark suit, a silk tie, polished shoes. His hair is combed back. His face is tanned. He looks like a businessman, not a criminal. He walks into the Ravenite. No hesitation, no caution. He believes he is untouchable. Bruce Moo watches Gotti enter the club. He lifts the walkie-talkie. He says, "Number 1 is in." The signal. The arrest teams move. FBI agents come from 3 directions. NYPD detectives block the street. They wear jackets with FBI printed on the back. They carry arrest warrants. 4 agents enter the Ravenite through the front door. George Gabriel leads the team. He walks straight to the back room. Gotti is there. Gravano is there. They are standing near an espresso machine. On the wall behind them are portraits. One of Gotti, one of Agnello Della Croce. Gabriel identifies himself, FBI. He presents the arrest warrant. Gotti does not move. He says he is not going anywhere until he finishes his coffee. Gabriel waits. Gotti finishes the espresso slowly. He sets the cup down. He straightens his tie. He turns around. Gabriel places handcuffs on his wrists. Gravano is handcuffed next, then Locascio. Outside the Ravenite, the street fills with law enforcement. Marked cars. Unmarked cars. FBI agents. NYPD officers. News cameras arrive within minutes. Photographers, reporters with microphones. They crowd the sidewalk. They shout questions. Gotti is led out first. His hands are cuffed behind his back. He looks straight ahead. No expression, no words. The cameras flash. The video cameras roll. The image will appear on every television station in New York by 7:30 p.m. Gravano is brought out second. Then Locascio. They are placed in separate vehicles. The arrest teams also pick up Thomas Gambino at his office in the Garment District. By 8 p.m., all 4 defendants are in federal custody. They are transported to the FBI field office at 26 Federal Plaza. They are processed. Fingerprints, photographs, paperwork. They are held overnight. The next morning, they are arraigned in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York in Brooklyn. The indictment is unsealed on December 12, 1990. The charges are severe: racketeering under the RICO statute, conspiracy to commit murder, 5 counts of murder, illegal gambling, obstruction of justice, extortion, tax fraud. The indictment names Gotti as the boss of the Gambino family. It names Gravano as underboss, locascio as consigliere. It describes the Gambino family as a criminal enterprise. It details the structure, the hierarchy, the rules, the methods, but the indictment does not mention the tapes. Not yet. The government wants to keep that evidence secret. Federal prosecutors know the defense will request discovery. They will ask what evidence the government has. The prosecutors must disclose it eventually. But they delay. They want the defense to be unprepared. They want the impact of the tapes to be devastating. The 4 defendants plead not guilty. Gotti hires attorney Bruce Cutler. Cutler has represented Gotti in 3 previous trials. All 3 ended in acquittals. Cutler is aggressive, loud. He calls the government's case a witch hunt. He calls the prosecutors liars. He says Gotti is a legitimate businessman. He says the FBI has a vendetta. Cutler's strategy has worked before. He hopes it will work again. But in January 1991, federal prosecutors file a motion to disqualify Bruce Cutler. They argue that Cutler is too close to Gotti, that Cutler himself appears in FBI surveillance footage at the Ravenite, that Cutler has acted as Gotti's agent, not just his lawyer. Judge Leo Glasser reviews the motion. On March 25, 1991, Judge Glasser rules in favor of the government. Bruce Cutler is disqualified. Gotti must find new counsel. He chooses Albert Krieger. Krieger is experienced, respected, but he does not have Cutler's relationship with Gotti. The defense is weaker. In April 1991, federal prosecutors provide discovery to the defense. They turn over surveillance videotapes, photographs, financial records, and transcripts of audio recordings. The defense attorneys read the transcripts. They realize the magnitude of the problem. The recordings are from the apartment above the Ravenite, the apartment where Gotti thought he could speak freely. The tapes capture Gotti discussing murders, approving hits, criticizing his underboss. The tapes are clear. The audio quality is good. The words are unmistakable. Albert Krieger meets with Gotti in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Lower Manhattan. Gotti is being held without bail. Krieger explains the situation. The tapes are admissible. The judge will allow them. The jury will hear them. Gotti's own words will convict him. Krieger recommends a plea deal. Gotti refuses. He wants to go to trial. He believes he can win. He believes the jury will side with him. He believes in his reputation. The Teflon Don Salvatore Gravano meets with his attorney, Benjamin Brafman. Brafman also explains the tapes, but Brafman tells Gravano something else. The tapes include conversations between Gotti and Locascio. In those conversations, Gotti criticizes Gravano. He says Gravano is too ambitious, too powerful. He suggests that Gravano might need to be dealt with. Gravano listens. He asks to hear the tapes himself. Brafman arranges it. In a secure room, Gravano listens to Gotti's voice. He hears Gotti bad-mouthing him, questioning his loyalty, discussing him like a problem to be solved. Gravano makes a decision. On November 8, 1991, he fires Benjamin Brafman. He requests a new attorney. He requests a meeting with federal prosecutors. On November 13, 1991, Salvatore Gravano agrees to cooperate with the United States government. He will testify against John Gotti. He will testify against Frank Locascio. He will admit his own crimes. In exchange, the government will recommend a reduced sentence. The decision shocks the Mafia world. Gravano is not a low-level soldier. He is the underboss of the Gambino family. He has been in the life since 1976. He has killed 19 men. He has earned millions of dollars. He is one of the most powerful mobsters in New York, and now he is a rat. A cooperating witness, the government's star witness. The defection is unprecedented. No underboss has ever turned informant before. The prosecution team prepares Gravano for trial. He is debriefed for months. He provides details about Gambino operations, about murders, about shakedowns, about corruption, about the structure of the family. He names names. He describes crimes. He corroborates evidence. He explains the context of the tape recordings, what Gotti meant when he said certain things, why certain men were killed, how the orders were given, how the hits were carried out. On January 21, 1992, the trial begins. United States versus John Gotti. Judge I. Leo Glasser presides. The jury is selected. 12 jurors, 6 alternates. The jury is anonymous. The jurors are identified only by numbers, not by names. The government requested the anonymity to protect them from intimidation, from threats, from influence. Gotti's reputation precedes him. Everyone in New York knows who he is. Everyone knows what he is accused of. The jury is sequestered for the duration of the trial. The prosecution's opening statement lasts 90 minutes. Assistant United States Attorney John Gleason presents the case. He describes the Gravano family. He describes Gotti's rise to power. He describes the murders. He tells the jury they will hear Gotti's own voice. On tape, admitting knowledge of murders, approving killings, discussing criminal activity. Gleason says the tapes are devastating. The jury will hear Gotti convict himself. The defense's opening statement is brief. Albert Krieger argues that Gotti is a victim of government persecution, that the FBI has targeted him unfairly, that the tapes are taken out of context, that Gotti was merely telling stories, not confessing, not ordering hits, just talking. Krieger says Gravano is a liar, a criminal trying to save himself by blaming Gotti. Krieger says the jury should not believe Gravano, should not trust the government, should acquit John Gotti. The trial begins with documentary evidence, bank records, surveillance footage, photographs of Gravano members entering the Ravenite, testimony from FBI agents. George Gabriel testifies about the arrest. Bruce Moo testifies about the surveillance operation. The jury sees the structure of the investigation, how the FBI built the case, how they identified targets, how they gathered evidence. Then the prosecution plays the tapes. February 17, 1992. The courtroom is silent. The prosecution sets up audio, equipment, speakers, amplifiers. The jurors are given transcripts, typed pages with Gotti's words, with Gravano's words, with Locasio's words. The transcripts are marked as exhibits. The tapes are marked as exhibits. The prosecution presses play. John Gotti's voice fills the courtroom. The recording is from November 30, 1989. The conversation in the Cirelli apartment. Gotti is speaking about Paul Castellano, cursing him, calling him a rat motherfucker, saying he divided the family. The jury reads the transcript as they listen. They hear the anger in Gotti's voice, the contempt, the bitterness. The tape plays for 11 minutes. When it ends, the courtroom remains silent. The prosecution plays another tape. December 12, 1989. Gotti discusses Louis Di Bono. You know why he is dying. He is going to die because he refused to come in when I called. The words are clear. The meaning is unmistakable. Gotti ordered the murder. The jury hears it directly from Gotti himself. No ambiguity, no code, no interpretation needed. The evidence speaks. Over 3 days, the prosecution plays 6 hours of tape recordings. The jury hears Gotti discuss murders, discuss rackets, discuss the Gravano hierarchy. They hear him criticize Gravano. They hear him order violence. They hear him describe how the family operates, how decisions are made, how disputes are settled, how rules are enforced. The tapes are the confessions, made in private, recorded without knowledge, now public, now evidence. On March 2, 1992, Salvatore Gravano takes the witness stand. He is dressed in a dark suit. No handcuffs, no shackles. He walks to the stand calmly. He is sworn in. He sits. The jury stares at him. They know who he is. They know what he has done. They know he has killed 19 men, but he is the government's witness now. He is there to testify against Gotti. Assistant United States Attorney John Gleason conducts the direct examination. He asks Gravano about his history, about joining the Gravano family, about his relationship with Gotti, about the murders. Gravano answers every question. He does not hesitate. He does not refuse to answer. He admits to killing Louis Melito, to killing Paul Castellano, to killing others. He describes how the hits were ordered, how they were carried out, who was involved, why they happened. Gleason asks Gravano about the tapes, about the conversations in the Cirelli apartment. Gravano confirms he was there, that the recordings are accurate, that the voices are his, Gotti's, and Locasio's. He explains the context. When Gotti said Louis Di Bono was going to die, Gotti meant it. The order was given. Gravano passed the order to the crew. Di Bono was killed 10 months later. Gravano does not claim innocence. He admits guilt. He admits complicity, but he places Gotti at the center. The boss, the decision-maker, the man who ordered the hits. Gravano testifies for 9 days. The defense cross-examines him aggressively. They attack his credibility. They call him a liar, a murderer, a rat. They point out his deal with the government. He is testifying to save himself, to reduce his sentence. He is not a hero. He is a criminal. Gravano does not deny it. He says yes, he is a criminal. Yes, he is testifying to help himself. But that does not change the facts. The facts are the facts. Gotti ordered murders. Gravano carried them out. The tapes prove it. On March 13, 1992, the prosecution rests. The defense calls its witnesses. Character witnesses. Friends of Gotti. Businessmen who say Gotti is a good man, that he helps the neighborhood, that he is not a killer. But the defense does not call Gotti himself. Gotti does not testify. His attorneys advise against it. The prosecution would cross-examine him. They would play the tapes again. They would ask him to explain his own words. Gotti cannot explain them, so he does not testify. The defense rests on March 24, 1992. Closing arguments begin. The prosecution argues that the evidence is overwhelming. The tapes speak for themselves. Gravano's testimony corroborates the tapes. The surveillance footage shows the structure of the family. The jury has heard Gotti's own voice, ordering murder, discussing racketeering, admitting to criminal activity. There is no reasonable doubt. Gotti is guilty. The defense argues that Gravano is a liar, that the tapes are taken out of context, that Gotti was merely talking, not acting, not ordering. They argue that the government has not proven its case, that the jury should acquit, but the argument is weak. The tapes are too strong. Gravano's testimony is too detailed. The evidence is too clear. On April 2, 1992, the jury deliberates. They deliberate for 13 hours. Over 2 days, on April 2 at 3:05 p.m., they reach a verdict. The courtroom fills. Reporters, spectators, law enforcement. Gotti's family. The jury is brought in. The foreman stands. Judge Glasser asks if they have reached a verdict. The foreman says yes. The clerk reads the charges. Count 1, racketeering. The foreman says guilty. Count 2, conspiracy to commit murder. Guilty. Count 3, murder of Louis Di Bono. Guilty. Count 4, murder of Louis Milito. Guilty. Count 5, murder of Robert Di Bernardo. Guilty. All counts. All guilty. John Gotti shows no emotion. He stares straight ahead. Frank Locascio is also found guilty on all counts. On June 23, 1992, John Gotti is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Frank Locascio receives the same sentence. Salvatore Gravano is sentenced to 5 years. He is released in 1995. He enters the Witness Protection Program. He leaves in 1997. He is later arrested for drug trafficking in Arizona. He serves 17 years. He is released in 2017. John Gotti dies in prison on June 10, 2002. He is 61 years old. Throat cancer. He is buried in St. John's Cemetery in Queens. His tombstone does not mention the Gambino family. It does not mention the murders. It does not mention the tapes. It says only his name. John J. Gotti, October 27, 1940, June 10, 2002. The building at 247 Mulberry Street is seized by the federal government in 1993. Judge I. Leo Glasser orders the forfeiture. The building was used for racketeering. It is sold at auction. The Ravenite Social Club closes. The apartment where the tapes were recorded is empty. The microphone is removed. The hole in the wall is patched. The tapes remain in evidence, stored in a federal archive. They are 600 hours of conversation, 6 hours of confessions. The words of a boss who thought he was safe, who thought the walls were secure, who thought he could speak freely. He was wrong. The walls were not secure. The FBI was listening. And New York would never be the same again.